right, every day. We're only going to make about 1,200 cc's of urine a day. And so, but we're going to make lots and lots and lots of filtrate. We're going to push lots and lots of fluid out into here, and then we're going to process it as it goes on down through here. But most of the water, for example, if we're just talking water, we're going to reabsorb about 99% of it back into our body. Okay? It says 90%, but it's going to be more like 99 by the time we get to the end of this. We're also going to do those other two things we talked about. We're going to secrete things that we don't want, and we're also going to reabsorb other things that are in the filtrate that made it out. They got squeezed out through the filter, but we want to save them, so we're going to reabsorb those. So those, remember, the three parts of urine formation: filtration, reabsorption, secretion. Okay. All right, these renal tubules, all of the corpuscles, all of these complexes right here are found up in the cortex. Now remember, about 85% of them are called cortical nephrons, and they don't, even with their loop of Henle, they don't really get down into the medulla. The other 15% are called juxtamedullary nephrons. They're right next to the medulla to start with, and they usually make a pretty long dip down into the medulla. The PCT and the DCT are simply areas where it does a bunch of loop-de-loops over here, basically to keep it all compact in there, but yet give it more length of the tube to go through. We call it the nephron loop, or the loop of Henle. I think there was a Dr. Henle who thought he should have that named after him. I don't know how that ever worked. Anyway, it's a U-shaped tube, and it extends a little bit into the medulla, but not very much. The collecting ducts is this last set of ducts over here at the far end, and this has all been a one-man show. In other words, the only fluid that ever came down through this one nephron came from this one glomerulus. Okay? It's every nephron is doing its own thing until it gets to the very end, and then a bunch of nephrons will all pour into a single collecting duct to take it out, okay, to get it out of the body. The last part of that collecting duct going down there on the floor is going to be, we call it a papillary duct, because it's in the papilla, it's in near the point of the, down at the bottom of the medulla, in the bottom of where the pyramid empties points into the calyx. Okay. So here's a close-up picture, better than I drew. But mine's the one you'll remember. Let's think about it. All right, so here's your afferent arteriole right here going in. Here's your glomerulus, your glom of arteries right there, making up the glomerulus, and then there's an efferent arteriole coming out. Okay, so the blood goes in, it gets squeezed, so to speak. A lot of the fluid comes out, and then it goes on in through the efferent arteriole, which then pours on through these peritubular capillaries. These capillaries just supply that area, surround that area, and as we're going to learn later, that's just so that they can pick up any of the other stuff that your body wants back in it. So it's going to pick up some water, and it's going to pick up some salt and stuff, and then they're going to eventually go up here and join back and get back into the regular venous system.
So the
red blood cells never got out of the blood.
They went right back in.
They went right back in through this little tube right here. Yeah, they go in and they come out. They all stay in. Okay. So then finally, after going through the proximal convoluted tubule, the distal convoluted tubule comes out and empties into the collecting duct. The collecting duct is going to go down to the tip of the papillae, and it's actually going to be urine at that point. We're going to call it urine at that point. Now the ones that are different, the 15%, the smaller group, but the ones that have the ability to really concentrate our urine, are the juxtamedullary, because they're just next to the medulla, And they have very long collecting ducts, much longer than is illustrated here. If this is a cortical nephron, a juxtamedullary would probably be about this much longer, maybe 3 times longer, because it's going to go all the way down to the tip of the medulla and then back up. The only thing different in this one and that one is that we have a different name for these little arterioles that are circulating around here. Whereas over here we call them the peritubular capillaries because they're capillaries that just go around the little tubules up in there. Over here we call them the vasa recta. Why? Vasa, veins, recta, straight. Vasa recta, straight. Remember, rectus abdominis, rectum, straight. So here's the vasa recta out here. That's the only difference, really. It's just the name of those blood vessels. Okay. Whew, man, this is getting complicated. I should probably stop. It's 20 after. So we'll stop right here on this beautiful picture. Okay? Now, how do I think you should learn this? Well, I think you do well to just follow it through with me. I'll try to lead you through it simple and straightforward as we can. But when you do your reading, if you get confused, stop. Don't just keep reading and getting more confused. Just stop, go nice and easy, work your way through this. It's really not that hard, but you do have to be logical and work your way